Alright, 10-minute game of chess. Here we go. We have the black pieces. Let's jump on in. We got a Sicilian. Let's see how we go. Open her up. We got ourselves an old Sicilian variation. Let's see how our opponent continues from here. It's a Rosalimo, which not my favourite continuation to face, but listen, my opponent is allowed to play what they think best. And I am the one that needs to respond. We're going to strike in the centre here. Maybe tempt a little bit of this. And we're going to start with a little, just sort of very jauntily put the pressure on here. There's a leap and a leap, which I don't hate. We might go with that, just to make them play how they need to. Tough to get enough defenders there. That is okay. Let's just do here for now. Let's get developed. Well, now we don't really want to take this pawn because staring into this, rook staring into the back of it, so it's a bone in the throat. It is deeper into our territory than we would care for, but I'm not in a mad hurry to clear that up for them if we're not going to win any material or positional gains from that. So that pawn is a-okay in my books. There's even a temptation to do this, but I don't think so. I mean, like this, we don't really mind. We can undouble these two pawns. I think there is a question of our bishop, which I mean, pushing here does seem fun. And I could immediately walk back what I said by playing this. Because now they're blocking the bishop in. We'll try it. We'll try it. We'll flip-flop. I'm glad they took that one first. So I'll put a bishop on this nice long diagonal. These two forevermore will be staring at each other, and it's basically like, do they want to move their knight? And we can put some additional pressure on there, which actually looks pretty good. Forces the queen up here. Okay, again, as long as the bishop is monitoring that situation, I don't mind. We can do this with very little drawback. Knight in here is annoying, but knight takes. Knight up here also looks fun. The queen here, but I imagine we'll see the queen shift in here. Really not seeing a... oh, okay. That's a piece. That's a knight for us. It's nice when that happens. It's not so nice when you do it yourself. Okay, nice quick one there. I think we're just going to roll on through. We're just going to roll on through. Get a 2 for special. Nothing particularly interesting about that game, except for the blunder, which, again, knight is being attacked twice, defended once. They had a chance to shift their queen over here or find some other way of defending that knight, and they didn't do it. So, happy days. Game numero 2. We now have the white pieces. And I'm actually going to play our beloved Colle system because I've kind of fallen out of love with it in the like 1800 range. Generally for this exact reason, because when they play a kind of like a King's Indian, or I don't know if that, yeah, sort of a version of the Indian game, it doesn't reap the same rewards as it might do versus a more standard defense, you know, d4, d5, or more traditional, not even traditional, King's Indian is very common, but I haven't cracked the code of what to do here. So the Colle system, for all intents and purposes, you're playing for one move, and this is where you coil all your pieces to get ready for this push. And we can probably push now, which I don't hate. This pawn looks a little flimsy. particularly with the bishop here. So I mean, there is a world where we just do this. This knight is often not surplus to requirements, but he's not the headliner. Now I think we can push with abandon. Can we? Maybe. I think so. Sometimes you make the effort of bringing the rook across here, just to have a bit of extra firepower on the e-file before you push e4. But in this case, I feel like we were just ready to play it. We can just continue here, I think. There's a world where we play this and just shut down any tactics on this pawn. But overall, we've locked in the Colle system. It hasn't gone disastrously, as it has done for me in the past, and that's not the biggest flaw of the system, but more of my knowledge of how to play it. So I think with this, we're not really scared of the knight jumping into either of these. They're both covered, and this c3 just looks good. Just looks like a solid play. This pawn is flimsy at best, so to cover that off is fine by me. In terms of plans from here, I think a lot of the reason I don't like facing the Colle system against a kind of kingside fianchetto or a king's Indian is because a lot of the Colle system involves like oftentimes like sacrifices here or just like rampaging kingside attacks. And when you have this like fianchetto sort of fortress, it's very hard to crack through. It's very popular for a reason. They tend to bear fruit in terms of shutting down kind of early sacrificial, like Greek gifty kind of sacrifices at early doors. This knight is perfectly safe, but let's see what we can start to do just to influence the game a little more. One thing we could attempt in an act of like counterbalancing is just pushing h4 here, and I think we might do that just because eventually we might look to sacrifice there on h5, crack this open a bit, and renew the threat of some of the things that we're looking at. There's also taking here, which I think might be a little better than like letting them take here. We take back with the bishop. They trade off bishops. This bishop, I think, might have good things in store for us if we can get this race up the board. So, to that end, we're going to take here first. Yes, it opens up this, but that favors us. They might take there. Yeah, that's also abso fine. We're going to do our push. Well, this does blunder a pawn, but that's okay. In some regards. Might have started with this. That move still remains. But what they can do now is take, and take. They don't bother. They do not bother. This knight quite well controlled by this pawn. There's this action that we're looking at too. Don't hate this. Don't hate that at all. I think that's just a good way to develop the bishop. If we trade off and they lose this fianchetto bishop, then the structure that we were talking about there, the really solid fianchetto structure, does start to fall apart a little bit without the bishop in the middle. And now I'm very happy to play the sacrifice. I think that's really really going to help us. It's a H pawn, so you always got to be wary of like what the queen could do coming in here. But okay, they don't go for it. Oh, we got 1, we got 2, we got 3. They got 1, they got 2, they got 3. I think we can start with this because this is a little more urgent. They can push here, but yeah, okay. Right, with that said, oof. Part of me is like looking at that. Ooh, queen out here? Does that actually do anything? It's certainly uncomfortable for them. King tucks in here. And then the queen can land herself in there. Is that how that would go? I feel like there's a this. There is a that. It seems really fun. It seems really fun. Let's maybe start with that. I don't see the queen doing a huge pile at the moment, other than keeping this knight defended by dint of not having to crack open our king. But it's with check, so we've got time. This is almost forced. I think it is forced, really. They don't want to do this or this. Now the issue here is if we play this, they just do this, and we're kind of trapped, or we just have to like walk it back a little. So what if we didn't bother with that? It's so tempting, but it's just so easily refuted. Bang. Anything juicy at all? Not particularly. Not particularly. So we take. They probably take. They've offered a draw. It's not great content, but yeah, I might just take them up on it there, lad. Go on. Let's take a draw. Game review. We were winning, but maybe they needed to leave or something like that, which is fine. So maybe they were just like, I think I'm losing here, let's chance our arm. Might have been a little bit more fun not to draw, but listen, people live their lives. It's no sweat for me. We're going to go right back to the well. That was a successful Colle versus a King's Indian, or sort of a modern, I'm not sure what you would... The early kingside fianchetto. I don't know how definitively you... when the King's Indian starts versus when just a fianchettoed kingside. What the tabia is sometimes what they call it, the distinction. Okay, now we're going to go for our full throttle Colle here. With this, we can just support this, because if they do take, we just take back, and that's fine. If they push, we still have the timber there. And this c3 move often finds its way into the Colle because of like this being the tip of the spear. Generally, they look to tackle it, and you lose nothing by having this structure here. You get a c-file for later on, and with this case, there's really not the most harm in dropping back. We could kick the knight. I don't want to lose that bishop, so this is the only square that keeps an eye on e4 and doesn't lose ourselves the bishop. So I don't hate that. A kick might happen first. I think I fancy that now. Again, we really don't mind this that much. A kick there could also happen. I'm happy for a little bit of luft. Again, we know that this pawn may be destined that way, so If they want to move their bishop twice to help us do that, that's their prerogative. And now I don't see any reason to hold off on e4. I'm going to take with the knight first, which will crucially uncover another defender of the d pawn. So yeah, e4 is good for now. We look a little undeveloped, but it's a tightly coiled system. That can often be the way in the Colle system, I find. You look like you're very camping in your own territory, but I think it brings about a potential energy, as Daniel Arditsky might say. Now we do have two attackers on this. This knight doesn't really need to be here anymore. I don't know what his future is after that. Could even be here, but nah. Anyway, we want to move it. And this is where we want to move it. It is undefended. We've got the deuce of hazard here, so we're okay against this and this for now. I mean, we knew it was a little flimsy. Don't actually hate this. Gets the knight more centralized, more in the way that we want to go. This becomes a smidge weaker, but this might just become a dancing knight. Nothing else too crazy. That's dead. That runs into the same problem as earlier. Let's do it. Let's do it, lad. This square also looks quite juicy. Just on a very surface level. They'd have to move their knight, they'd have to push their c-pawn, or push it here to kick us out. It'd be a whole thing. I feel like this move isn't going anywhere, so we don't necessarily have to play it now, but I'm also like, what else is there to do? One of the things that's interesting me is this. Don't hate that either, but don't love it. This knight might just leap himself in here. Let's do it. Let's diggity do it. It's not doing anything. It's kind of in the way. And there's a lot worse homes for a knight than that. This becomes interesting. It becomes relatively interesting. Yeah, let's try it. They might kick that out, but again, that's softening up the old kingside fortress. And if they want to soften it again with that, I don't mind that. This guy could find himself getting sacrificed. Lickety split. But then this falls under pressure. It's complicated. Tempted just to take here, but I think okay, interesting. Very interesting. So now, don't think I want to lose this bishop. I think we'll probably lose this knight. That's fine. We'll take here. Are they going to accept the sacrifice? They don't have to. I don't know if I would. All depends on how Manny the horse from Australia is feeling. Very late in Australia at the moment, so maybe we can capitalise on some sleepiness. But we have sacrificed tonight. Gonna take it. Taking might not necessarily have been the best. We're just gonna keep taking stuff. Listen, there's no better way out of trouble than threatening checkmate. That does give us a chance to do this. And after all of that, material relatively equal. We might win this pawn back, which would be great. What can they even do here? We're actually in great shape here, I think. I think all those complications and such paid off. He says, unsure of how to behave. Alright, well, let's threaten the queen a little. Not a lot of great places for her to go. Blocking here runs into this, which is perilous. They can always just take here, but I feel like they've got bigger fish to fry at the moment. Namely, this fish is being fried. Ooh, there. Ooh, wait a minute. Oh no, just blocks with the pawn. I was like, ooh, is this tidy? Could that be a little... Did they forget about the queen? Was the queen trapped? I don't think so, but we're going to take her anyway. Doesn't seem too wretched. Take the queen. And we'll just trade off that bishop now that we're up a heap of material. 8 points of material. Nicked bad. Probably do this. Look to trade some more material. That's a free rook. We'll take that for sure. And a resignation. Okay, so a very nice little barnstormer there at the end. So taking a quick look at the game review, we played a lovely little game with a brilliancy, 2 great moves, no mistakes, misses or blunders, ending in a 91.2 accuracy. Long live the Colle System, says I. Let's take a look at some of those specific moves, namely the brilliancy. That's what we're here for. And we will check it on out. Okay, so taking a look at the game review there. Again, that 91.2 accuracy, very happy with that. Hasn't happened in a long time. Just going to let the computer run through the review here, just to stop us at any, like, critical mistakes, anything crazy. We play okay in the opening. They kind of wanted us to maybe do e4 a little earlier, but they didn't know that I only know certain moves in the Colle system, and I didn't want to deviate from that too much. Now we push e4 at the right time. We got a great move for e4, which is absolute music to the Colle system's ears. The dancing knight wasn't great. Okay, the bishop move to pin the knight was good. Drop the bishop back. A brilliancy, sacrifice the knight. We knew it. We knew it was going to be absolutely helter-skelter up there. And we didn't handle it. Let's just walk through that a little more. Actually, okay, you can stop moving automatically. So we didn't handle this the best, did we? They took the pawn. Okay, we could have actually threatened the checkmate earlier, one move earlier, rather than taking this. And yeah, it would have been a little harder to stop. And I think they should have taken here, or what should they have done? Yes, yeah, they should have taken the bishop instead of taking the pawn back, which I feel it did feel a little weird at the time. Definitely felt like at this point we were like, okay, we're in absolutely magical shape. And then from here we were able to convert nicely. Again, it helps they blundered their queen, but they blundered their queen because we put them in a very complicated position and they lost the thread. They were Australian. It was very late on in Australia. Sleepy time for the lads. So from here we had quick resignation once they gave us another rook for free. But it was good fun. And that is the Colle system. Again, Viva la Colle System seems to be have a bit of juice in it. So check out my previous video on it if you want to know the basics on the Colle System, but this was just a practical session on that. Be sure to subscribe and stick around for more games like this, more information on different openings and general chess fun. All the very best. Have a good one.